we have the trust, and we have the big three, which is trust, grantor, trustee, beneficiary.
Yeah.
Marvin Francois, the grantor. Marvin Francois, LLC, the trustee.
There you have it.
Now, for the beneficiary, like you said, instead of making the beneficiary a person, we can make the beneficiary the estate.
The estate.
And the estate is essentially all of our assets. Everything. So if I own real estate, if I own franchises, if I own businesses, that is essentially the beneficiary.
You're protecting it. Not only that, you have companies that use the death certificate that start filing claims on the estate, that start taking the wealth before the family even gets it.
Okay.
So now you have no family control to say, whoa, before y'all start digging and tapping into. But the trust is protecting the estate.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So we are now creating that protection over everything that you built, everything that you worked on, everything that you worked so hard for. You see a lot of families say, you know, my family built this house brick by brick. We had that land in our family and it was taken due to some type of back tax or something that we were not aware of. And here's the other downside of things if you don't have a trust in place. A lot of these companies, when they go and file claims and they taking it, they then put the liability on the loved ones. So now your family has inherited debt because there was no protection over the wealth. The companies get the wealth, we get the debt. If you want to hold on to this house, you're going to take on the mortgage. But remember, I used to be a debt collector. I used to buy old debt. So if the person passed away, all you got to do is use the death certificate to file the claim. Because everybody, if you're going to send out a loan, you're going to have an insurance claim attached to this loan. It's not guaranteed.
Okay.
But what do? We personal guarantee. We say we personally going to give it to you. Now that guarantee, you know what a guaranteed is? Life is not guaranteed. So why do we put ourselves in position to personal guarantee? So this is why companies come and taking everybody's stuff. You told them to. You guaranteed it. So that trust is now saying, you know what? My family will get this first. And when it comes to the debt, baby, you got to get it how you going to get it.
But it's not going to happen.
It ain't going to happen to us, but my family going to
38%. That's the amount of entrepreneurs that are struggling to get their business funded because their personal credit isn't where it needs to be. Now, you can look into alternatives like corporate credit cards and vendor accounts, but the truth is the easiest way to get access to 5 to 6 figures in funding is to have good personal credit. As an entrepreneur, the stress of trying to build a successful business is already enough as is. So why work harder than you need to when you can simplify the funding process by getting your credit restored? My company, Takeoff Financial, has served hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you by helping them avoid the pain of getting denied for business funding by restoring their personal credit, and we want you to be the next one. So click the link above or below this video to secure your free consultation, and let's put you in position to get you funding that your business needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. And today is a very special day because our guest today is your favorite trustee. She's educated hundreds of thousands of Black and brown individuals nationwide on the importance of creating a family legacy, acquiring assets, and protecting these things from generation to generation through establishing a trust. Whether she's dropping gems on our Instagram Live Car Chronicles or providing motivation to the masses through teaching, through her engaging and creative content, our guest's mission has always remained the same: to teach our community what true generational wealth looks like through the power of owning nothing and controlling everything. And today, she's here to do more of the same. Ladies and gentlemen, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by way of Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm here with the one, the only, Miss Lela Lockwood. How are you?
What's going on? Thank you. That was me.
Yeah, that's you. That's you. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I can't complain.
Fantastic.
It's been a journey, but I'm here.
There you go. You're here. I'm excited to have you on. I've been following you for some time now. We got connected at InvestFest of all places. I saw you, going through the vendor marketplace by yourself, right? And I was just saw your aura glowing. And I said, all right, cool. Let me go over, introduce myself. And I told myself, listen, I've talked about a lot of great things on my platform, but never have I talked about trust and legacy building. And, we always hear conversations about generational wealth, but what you specialize in is literally the foundation of that, right?
It's the core.
It's the core of it. So I was extremely excited to get the opportunity to bring you on and have you here live and in person. So I'm excited. I know who you are, but there are some people who are watching or listening who may not be too familiar. So for those who aren't, who is Lela Lockwood?
Your favorite trustee. No, Lela Lockwood is actually an entity. So, just coming from where I come from, like you said, I'm from Philadelphia. Now I'm living in Charlotte. I have a background. My background, was in collections. And I was in collections for about 10 plus years. And just fast forward to, I got into being a debt purchaser. And I understood right then and there the power of sharing and selling personal information. So that didn't align with my spirit, It felt like it was doing damage to the community because we played on the mindset of the ignorance. So my goal was to, if I ever get on the other side, meaning to help other individuals protect their information, I want to pour that more into the community. So that's where Lela Lockwood LLC came from, is now turning yourself into an entity and build that legacy, creating something that outlives you.
I love it. So you talked about, of course, coming from the debt collection space. Where exactly did that transition happen from being in the debt collection space to ultimately transitioning into educating people about estate planning, right? Because it's such a specific field that very few know about, right? Yeah. Especially people that look and walk like us, talk like us, and look like us. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I had some great leaders, in front of me, helping me, guiding me. When going into the space of having a whole call center, it's privacy, right? We don't know where they're calling from. It could be satellite locations, from other third world countries, and, just making sure that business is protected. That's all I knew. We didn't want to get sued. We didn't want the FD, all these things. And we even operate under alias. So that whole thing of being in the forefront is basically stating that all I knew was, of course, no business owner wants to get sued. And then from there, bad partnership. And then, of course, that gets emotion, right? You're like, I'm tired of things failing, taken from me, starting over, seize things. I've seen a whole bunch of things. And Clubhouse, beginning of COVID, I've seen a lot of people passing away. The one that really got me, because I'm here in New York, I could just touch on that one where they had to put a whole bunch of bodies in an 18-wheeler truck and keep them on ice because they couldn't get it out. So much has went on, and I'm like, what's happening to these families? What's happened to their assets? And I started learning about trust because it was in front of me, but I didn't know what I had my hands on until adversity hit.
Right.
Till I walked away from a lot of things that I had, and there were things. And I got in Clubhouse, and people kept coming to me and say, you different, you talk different, you built different. And it was the people, they like, we're rooting for you. I started, I was in a very dark place in my life, but I had information, and information changed my life. So it started from, me growing, and they asked me, show me. It wasn't about educating. It was really about informing people for free.
Right.
And they're like, nah, we need to pay you for your time. And time is your biggest asset, because time, in this short period of time, we've done some amazing things.
I love it. Okay, got you. So then where does, because your the social handle that you go from now is Creditgenics.
Creditgenics.
So where does that come from? Because I tried to put two and two together. I was searching high and low. I couldn't figure it out. So I had to ask the woman herself, where does that come from?
Creditgenics is very powerful. I was going hard with helping people understand really the power of credit and understanding too how you got the control versus the companies. Everybody should have good credit. It should be a part of your DNA. Right? That's because we should have the knowledge of how to read the credit report, how to find errors on the credit report, because when you find the errors, it pays you. And that took off. But then we started realizing that people use their credit to leverage to buy an asset, but they didn't have the means or the understanding of to protect the asset that you amass when you use this credit to go get an asset. So that's how we transitioned. But changing the Instagram, and by this time we had all these fake pages, all these people. And I'm like, I didn't know any of this exists. You know, I'm just doing what I naturally do, is help people. And then it started going from there. So I never change the name.
Got you. You had a quote, and I think this is a great place to start the conversation. I don't know if it's your quote, but I heard you say it, and I really loved it, where you said, death is not planned, but it's inevitable, right?
Absolutely.
We know we're all going. We don't know when we're going, but we're going. And in understanding that, it becomes super important for us to do the work now of taking whatever it is that we're building, whatever it is that we're cultivating, and creating that foundation to where it's able to be here for generations to come, right?
Listen, from the time that you're born, you are writing out your obituary. A lot of people don't realize that. I mean, you see people die before they say, oh, they died at a young age, or they died at an old age. Either way, what were they doing in their lifetime span? That dash in between the beginning and the end is what your legacy is built around.
Right.
If you go outside the house and you're doing something and it's a purpose, maybe you're going to go work a job. Is it just to pay bills? What are you actually doing to now create a strategy to make sure that whoever you're doing this for will receive it? It's not just a retirement plan. It's not just a pension, because some people don't make it to even cash out their pension. Some people get laid off, fired,
Right.
and their 401k is gone. So what are we creating that is the credit, right, for your family? Who's going to make sure to ensure that they will receive the benefit?
Right. And that's why I love what you teach so much, because essentially it's based around that when we talk about estate planning and trust and things like that. So for those who don't know, let's really break it down for them so that they understand what it is and just the importance of it. What exactly is a trust?
Man, it's a legal tool. It's actually a legal instrument, financial instrument that is used to protect, used to hold wealth, and then pass it on to the next generation, pass it on to your loved ones. So that tool, I like to look at it as a trust is like the treasure box, and everything that is valuable to you, you're going to keep it sacred. You're going to keep it private. And the way that it's structured, you put those treasures in that trust, that treasure box.
I love it. Now, because I really want to unpack this, because feel like I'm still learning about trust.
Yes.
I got a specialist sitting next to me, so I gotta break it down. I gotta get all the information, right? Typically, whenever I hear, especially in business, people talk about like creating things to protect assets and stuff like that. I've heard trust talked about a little bit, but more so I've heard about holding companies.
Yeah.
So when we talk about holding companies, is there any similarities between a trust and a holding company? Are they two completely separate things for separate affairs? Do they work together? How does that work?
That's a great question. The trust is the holding company, because remember, the trust holds the asset. Now, if you create another entity to be the shareholder that's holding the shares, there's no asset protection there. So let's say you just create another LLC that's just going to hold the company. In between that barrier of holding the other company, there's no asset protection. So when you put a trust that owns the entity, that creates that holding space of asset protection.
Got you. Interesting. That's my first. I thought it was two completely separate.
Yeah, the trust holds the asset for the benefit of someone else. So that's why we say trust-owned entity for trust-owned everything.
So now when it comes, we understand what a trust is. How do we now go about getting it set up? What does that process look like? Do I need a lawyer? Is it something that I could do for myself? Do I go on LegalZoom.com? Where do I go to get this thing?
It's everywhere at this point, right? But, put my disclaimer here that I am not an attorney. I don't present myself to be an attorney. I'm an economic activist. I'm an advocate. But when it comes to this document, it's actually just, the tool mainly is for structure. You can pull this up. You can write it out how you want your assets to be structured. So even though people can pull a template as a guideline, you still got to make sure that it's creative and structured in a way that's going to protect everything that you have. So every trust is not created the same, right? Because you want to make sure it goes to this person, that person. But how? Also, too, there's no law that is mandate for just an attorney to set up the document. You can create it yourself.
Would you advise that?
I can't advise you anything.
Well, I know. Okay, let me rephrase the question.
You got to make sure.
Yeah, let me rephrase the question. What is, from your experience, what's the better route when it comes to establishing a trust? Do I go to a professional? Is it something that I can essentially put my hands on myself and do? From your experience.
My experience is learning this information, understanding that you do have the power. Okay. These are your assets. This is what you worked hard for. This is your money. Half the time, we don't have control of our bank accounts, right? Because when we go in there, it's controlled by a trustee. The bankers are trustees. So when you learn this information, you understand the control that you have. Well, I'm doing this today for the benefit of my children or my grandchildren, you're now creating, lineage for your lineage, right? You're creating this. So understanding it is like, I need to know this, because if you pass any wealth, even if you create it, sit down with an attorney. You're creating this document so it can be passed down to your next generation. The next generation is important to learn it more than anybody because they're going to receive the benefit. If they don't know, that's why wealth don't make it past the second generation.
Right.
So it's really understanding the provisions in your area. But this is why they come to the Trusteeship Enrichment Program. We help you understand in your area. So you won't have to bust your head. Not say bust your head, but your mind is not consumed with, I got to learn everything, every law, every step. That's not how we not forcing law on people. We actually showing you that this house can be moved. This car can be protected. These are all valuable things. And when you itemize what's valuable to you, see, that's all about identifying that. People didn't know a bank account is valuable to people. My 9-to-5 check, where it's going, it's valuable to people. And we just help them go there. Life insurance, your life should be protected, right? Over your body. So then they say, oh, well, then the trust, if we create that, the trust don't die.
Right.
But people do.
Right. Okay. Diving more into that, because you talked about just some of the different things that we as individuals view as assets that we can use the trust to protect. When it comes to who a trust is for, when it's time for us to get a trust, right? Because I think, especially for someone that may just be learning about it, you may hear trust and think, okay, I got to be making it like 7-8 figures. I got to be some super high level business owner with, millions of dollars in assets for me to even think about getting something like that. What would you say to someone who has that kind of mindset?
Man, I started with nothing.
Really?
I had the information. And if you think like me, I'm a believer. I'm a creative thinker. I don't know when my next day is going. I'm going to pop. Like, it's like I might hit the Powerball, and having a trust as the foundation, now I got something I could transfer the wealth into. So saying I need to wait till I get the money. Well, what if you wait and keep waiting and you keep waiting and you die? Then you start realizing probate say, well, you could have transferred this. You should have had a will. You should have had these things. Well, people thought that they're supposed to have money first. So which one is it? So we start showing people that when you have the trust as the foundation, everything that you amass, you make the trust the owner. See, if you create a business and you don't have a trust, now you're in that position to be the owner. You get sued. You're like, oh man, I wish I had a trust before you start making this money. But when you put the trust as the owner, that is the foundation that it protects everything that now comes after that.
What are some of the different types of trusts out there? Because like you said, I don't know if all trusts are created equal. Is there just one type of trust that everyone can get, or are there different variations of it that we can choose from?
The two main types of trust is either going to be revocable or irrevocable.
Okay.
Now, how you structure it, meaning it can be a trust built for, medical. It can protect from, Medicaid. It can protect you from, if you want to make charitable donations. There's all different types of trust, but it's only going to be either revocable or irrevocable.
What's the difference between the two?
Man, revocable, all the assets are still connected to you. Your grantor, you still got control as the grantor. The grantor is the person, if anybody didn't know, grantor is the person who created the trust. So therefore, if you still have control, it's still connected to you personally. When you pass away, if there's some creditors, if there's some lawsuits or anything, they can still say, hey, this person owns some things, and they're going to revise or, change the fact that you had assets set aside. Because that's only going to give you privacy. It don't give you protection. Now, the irrevocable, it gives you protection. It cannot be revoked. It will not be revised. So when you don't make the change as the grantor, see, you don't want the power. You want to give up control, let the trust own everything. That's where they own nothing, control everything.
Right.
It's implemented so much because if someone's trying to sue me, I own nothing. I have no control over it, but I can dictate and move how it's protected. So
Gotcha.
I take the position as trustee. But again, we have another creative way because Lela Lockwood LLC is a corporation. So even the trustee is a corporation.
Okay. So revocable, like you said, it still has a little bit of liability that's tied to us at Marvin Francois, the person. The natural person. Irrevocable, Marvin Francois ain't got nothing to do with this. The trust is, I gave it away to the trust. Are there any like pros and cons? Because from the research I've done with irrevocable, even though it gives you a lot more protection, the one thing is like it's ironclad. Once an irrevocable trust is set, you can't modify it, you can't touch it, anything else like that, right?
You can't, as the grantor.
Okay.
Now, if you're in a position where you're still living, you're the trustee, you can also, again, this is the controlling part, right? I don't own nothing, but I can put you in position to make this move for me. Just like the mortgage company, they go buy houses for us.
Okay.
The bank buy houses for us. We're just sitting there, the bank has the control, and we just sit here and dictate the move with our securities. So we see it on a day-to-day basis. We see a finance company purchase the car for us, and then we come on the back end and do business with the bank. It's the same concept. Now, if you have a trust and you're like the grantor has no control, then there's trustees that can now be in position to be appointed to make those changes.
All right, see, we're going to have to break this down because I want to make sure. So you have grantor and you have trustee. Can you be a grantor and you can't be both?
You can. You can be both.
But it's advised for you not to be both, or
why not?
Why not?
You need me, I'm gonna show up. But as the trustee, see, trustee, now if you say Lela Lockwood, I'm gonna put it into my name.
Okay, let's do it.
Lela Lockwood, the grantor. Lela Lockwood, trustee. See, that trustee at the end changes the position.
Okay, got you.
Just like if I get married, if you see Mrs. on the front of my name, you know that's a different position.
Mm-hmm.
That's how simple but serious it is, because if you forget to put trustee on the back of your name, that means, you operating as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But if you operating as trustee, that's two different positions.
So it's Marvin Francois, the grantor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can make Marvin Francois the person the trustee, or can I have Marvin Francois LLC and have it be the trustee as well?
Correct.
So now, if I have an irrevocable trust, walk with me. I want to make sure I got this.
Yeah.
If I have an irrevocable trust, I'm the grantor, and then I have Marvin Francois LLC. Marvin Francois, the grantor, because it's irrevocable, can or can't do anything. Can't do nothing.
Not the grantor.
But Marvin Francois LLC,
yep, can be in the position.
who is the trustee, is in position to come back and say, hold on, let's go ahead and move some things around. Gotcha.
And it got to be written out.
Gotcha.
You got to make sure that it's beneficial for everyone, all parties involved. So nobody's just coming and making changes and is leaving out the benefits for the others, right?
Let's dive. All right. So I want to present a couple different scenarios. Let's say we have an irrevocable trust.
Yes.
I'm a single man, right?
Okay.
Before when I get this irrevocable trust, I find a nice young lady. I want to get married with this young lady. Does Marvin Francois LLC, the trustee, now go back and make my soon-to-be significant other a trustee as well, or does she go get her own trust, and then we have a third trust that we do after that, where it's both of us? So I have my own individual trust. She has her own individual, and then we have a third one that's for our marriage.
Marital. You can do that.
Okay.
These are all scenarios that's going to be based on your love life, right?
Okay.
The trust that you trust this person.
Okay.
Now, the good thing that you made that statement is, should I make my wife the trustee? You didn't say beneficiary.
Okay.
So here's the power in this. When you put your wife as the trustee, she now takes the next position, God forbid something happens to you. Now, that don't mean you have to die. It could be, you may be incapacitated, it could be coma, it could be car accident, you have no activity of your day-to-day limbs, your mindset, right? You need your wife to go make those bank deposits, make some payments, do these things. If she's listed as the beneficiary, she won't have that power. She only have to wait and benefit. She has no power to do control, to manage the wealth. So when I said, hold on. So now the way that we maneuver, and this is the information this is why the Trusteeship Enrichment Program is so powerful, is because we show people that, do you want your children to just wait for someone to have maybe a court appointed to control everything? And maybe you won't get nothing because the kids are waiting to benefit. Now you have your loved ones you've been educating your family this entire time. They're in position to control and manage. It's a business chain. At the generation, at the generation, at the generation, they have the power to control. So why do I need an attorney to stay around when all their position was they formed it? It's on you to make sure that your family keep the wealth in the family. It's your family.
There you go. Okay. So now take a step back. So we have the trust.
Yeah.
Irrevocable. Now, in terms of all the different individuals that can be connected to this trust, you talked about grantor. I understand who the grantor is. I understand who the trustee is. You just threw another one in there, which is beneficiary. Are there any other titles that can be connected to this trust? So that's the big three. That's
the big three. But let me tell you, I don't want to get this to you.
This is the Marvin Francois show. You got it. Wait. No, go, say what you were going to say. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying those are the main three.
No, you was about to say something else. What? Just sprinkle it in there.
So to be honest with you, like the way that this thing is positioned is for protection over your family. So we talk about generational wealth, but we start seeing that wealth get taken from the family immediately, right? Because the death is public. So when it comes to the structure, making sure that your family will forever benefit is putting the estate as the beneficiary.
The estate, when you say the estate itself,
that means let me tell you what the estate is, because some people may not know what. The estate is all the property, all the wealth, everything that the person had in their lifetime, right? So when it comes to the trust, if they say, somebody passed away. Oh, unfortunately, the house is locked in the estate. You ever heard that term?
Right.
You can't get it out until you go to probate. You can't get no frozen bank account. All that is now property of the estate. But if you mean to tell me that every time somebody passed away and they didn't know no wealth was coming to them, right? They didn't know where it was. It goes locked into the estate. Who has control of the estate?
The trustee?
The trust.
The trust. Okay, got you.
Because remember, trustees could still pass away. These are still people that you're putting in position.
Got you.
So you mentioned about like, if I don't have any children, or if maybe you're just a single person. This legacy can now be beneficial where you say, you know what, I might want to put a franchise there. I want to open up a foundation. See, Aaliyah, these are, I can give you Tupac. There's people that passed away that had no children, but created a legacy. So I still don't want people to think because they don't have no, children, they maybe not be married, that a trust is not beneficial for them. You are valuable. Protect you and everything that you built.
Okay. Because I'm learning as you're teaching, and I like this. This is really good for me too. Okay, cool. We have the trust, and we have the big three, which is trust, grantor, trustee, beneficiary.
Yeah.
Marvin Francois, the grantor. Marvin Francois, LLC, the trustee.
There you have it.
Now, for the beneficiary, like you said, instead of making the beneficiary a person, we can make the beneficiary the estate.
The estate.
And the estate is essentially all of our assets. Everything. So if I own real estate, if I own franchises, if I own businesses, that is essentially the beneficiary.
You're protecting it. Not only that, you have companies that use the death certificate that start filing claims on the estate, that start taking the wealth before the family even gets it.
Okay.
So now you have no family control to say, whoa, before y'all start digging and tapping into. But the trust is protecting the estate. You see that? So we are now creating that protection over everything that you built, everything that you worked on, everything that you worked so hard for. You see a lot of families say, my family built this house brick by brick. We had that land in our family, and it was taken due to some type of back taxes, something that we were not aware of. And here's the other downside of things if you don't have a trust in place. A lot of these companies, when they go and file claims and they taking it, they then put the liability on the loved ones. So now your family has inherited debt because there was no protection over the wealth. The companies get the wealth. We get the debt. If you want to hold on to this house, you're going to take on the mortgage. But remember, I used to be a debt collector. I used to buy old debt. So if the person passed away, all you got to do is use the death certificate to file the claim. Because everybody, if you're going to send out a loan, you're going to have an insurance claim attached to this loan. It's not guaranteed.
Okay.
But what do? We personal guarantee. We say we personally gonna give it to you. Now that guarantee, you know what a guarantee is? Life is not guaranteed. So why do we put ourselves in position to personal guarantee? So this is why companies come and taking everybody's stuff. You told them to. You guaranteed it. So that trust is now saying, you know what? My family will get this first. And when it comes to the debt, baby, you got to get it how you gonna get it.
But it's not gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen to us, but my family gonna.
I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. I'm learning. I'm understanding. I'm really trying to take this thing slow and digest it to make sure I got it.
It's different.
No, this is very multi-layers. That's why I'm really trying to make sure I unpack it, not just for myself, but also for the audience as well. Okay, cool. So I understand the trust. I understand the big three. I understand how we can position everything to where we're protecting what we have, right? I also heard, and you can confirm this when we talk about, because you talked about death, of course, that when you have assets, when you die, if your asset valuation passes a certain threshold, you get taxed on that. But you can, if the assets is in the trust essentially can act as like a right, like write the tax bill off, like the death tax off. Have you heard something like that?
So when you have a death tax that's attached to the grantor, because this is where the layers of protection comes in.
Okay.
Then the person gets taxed. But if you're not putting your family member in position to allocate that, it's not saying that the taxes won't get paid. That's not what I'm saying. Because a lot of people say she's promoted not paying nothing.
Right.
No, what happens is these companies will get paid. Do understand they will get paid. Now, it's not going to be on the backs and the faults of your loved ones. Of course, they don't understand finance. They don't understand. If they're already trying to manage the wealth that you left. We're talking millions of dollars. Now, if you're leaving it to a loved one, which is, let's say, you mentioned a wife or so,
Right.
is the beneficiary. That means that person has a certain time frame to take that wealth out. We don't want to distribute wealth. If we're going to have it private in our lifetime, why would I release it to my missus? Why would I release it to my mister? Right? Because that becomes public in their hand. Here's a tax implication, right? If I pass wealth from private owned trust to now giving it to the kids publicly, that's a tax implication. Why would I want to create that for my children? So that's why where's a threshold say, well, we're not passing wealth, we keeping it in the trust. So instead of passing you a house, I'm going to pass the trust to you. It's the baton. So when I pass the trust to you, now you got to manage that wealth inside of it, enjoy it, benefit, right? Because you have the control to benefit. You can live in that house. You can go to that bank account because the owner never died. Remember, the trust is the owner. The house, the owner never died. You see where I'm going with this? Now we're creating something that it stays in the family. This is the legacy.
Right.
When they say legacy continue, no, a lot of y'all not structured right. Legacy gonna die. It's like, no. But you get what I'm saying? Everything that you grow and build, and people say, oh, I got all this in my name. When you die, it ain't going with you.
Right.
So if you're not structured in a way that it stays with you, who do you want to benefit? That's where you gotta know. And you got to make sure it's positioned. Because if you say, oh, I'm going to leave it to a child. Oh, I only got a child that's under 18, under 20, under 21, right? How do you make sure your loved ones get that?
Right.
We structure the trust today. I got a 10-year-old, 13-year-old, and a 22-year-old. And a grandson that's 7 months, right? So how do I make sure that my 7-month-old grandson, because I'm already working on the next generation, my thoughts are not, everything is structured now. We got to prepare for the second generation. The statistic says wealth don't make it past the second generation. Why? Because you gave all the assets to your loved ones. You put it in their name directly. That's why I don't make it past the second generation. Then they keep it, they sell it, they auction it off.
And then that's it.
Yard sale. They need some money. Maybe they and then when you pass it on to your loved one, what if they in debt? Then that get taken. So where's the continuous generational wealth that's being spent in? This trust is different.
50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years, and 38% of those businesses fail due to lack of access to capital. But 100% of business owners who are watching this aren't going to have that issue, because I'm about to teach y'all how to bankroll your business. What's going on, family? My name is Marvin Francois, and back in 2020, I was a new entrepreneur with little to no idea on how I was going to build my first successful business. But fast forward a couple of years later, I've been able to build multiple successful six-figure businesses by leveraging business credit, and today I want to give entrepreneurs the game on how they can do the same. So this Thursday, I'm going to be hosting my free Bankroll Your Business Masterclass, where I'm going to teach you how to go from having bad personal credit and little to no business funding to having perfect personal credit and access to a minimum of $50,000 in funding for your business. Spots are going fast and the clock is ticking, so if you haven't already, click the link above or below this video to secure your seat, and I'll see y'all on Thursday. Peace.
Okay. Another question I would have is, as we're learning about the trust, whenever I've heard about, like, you know, preparing for death and things like that, even though a lot of people aren't familiar with trust, I feel like more people are familiar with wills, right? So what exactly are you smiling already? What is the difference between a trust and a will when we talk about protecting assets and transferring generational wealth? Is there one that's better than the other? Are there more in the same?
I'll give you this. Wills are just a wish, right? Because wills are only court control.
Okay.
If you want your family to inherit the wealth, trust is family control and it's private. The wills are public, right?
Okay.
So which one do you want for your family? But I will tell you this, when it comes to wills, there's a such thing called pour over will, right? And that will is only created to make sure that, let's say you forgot to put a house in there. Oops, I forgot to put this one bank account, this investment account, and I forgot to protect it. This pour over will, which is like pour over, is runneth over. You know, we so blessed, we runneth over, right? We forget to put some of those assets in the trust. Well, that pour over will ensure that what you left out will go to the trust. No one's talking about that. It's a difference between a pour over will, and there's a difference between a will and testament. That will and testament is to leave your loved one which is considered the executor, to handle your debts. That's not the position I want for my children.
So in no way, shape, so you mentioned the pour over will. So the pour over will, you have the pour over will, and then you have the intestament will.
Two different things.
Intestament will, we don't want that. Get that out of here.
That's the last will and testament. That's like and testament. Like that's like your last wishes, right? This is what I want. This is what I wish my family will have. But then they say, wait a minute, you got some IRS, you got some taxes, you got some American Express, not to be putting nobody out there, but these credit card companies, these are things that you had in your name. Mm-hmm. This is the debt side of things. See, this is why I talk about we're not putting debt in the trust. Mm-hmm. Because the debt side of things is what you did in your natural name.
Right.
But the things that you leverage, you can now transfer it. And that part is what you keep. Mm. So if you forget and there's some, oops, I forgot to put some, that pour over will is structured in a way that, why no one's talking about this? Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, the wills is to pay debts.
Got you.
And for me being a debt collector, I wish my kids would.
That's hilarious. Okay. Diving more into the trust side of things.
Yes.
We understand what it is, the benefits of it, the different inner workings of it, how to structure it in a way to where it's protecting assets, creating generational wealth, all these amazing, amazing things.
Yes.
I follow you closely. Another thing you talk about, you've talked about it sporadically throughout the sit down so far, you talk about funding the trust.
Yes.
Right? So one of the key things that you talk about, which has become a very popular topic now, is life insurance. And you've been very outspoken about how like you would never put yourself as a beneficiary of life insurance. You would never attach your name to life insurance. You would essentially have the trust, essentially be the beneficiary of the life insurance policy. Am I right on that?
Yeah, you did your work.
I did my research, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
But I love that for you because people don't realize that a life insurance policy is considered a personal asset.
Okay.
See, we don't want the asset in our name. Mm-hmm. So if I have a family, I have my children, right? As a mother, I'm going to get a life insurance policy over me and my children and my grandson. But if something happens to me and their payment is coming out of a personal checking account monthly, then what happens is their policy will lapse. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
That could happen. The account can get frozen.
Right.
But then if I put it in a way where I'm still going to tell my story beyond the grave, I'm still going to ensure that they are taken care of beyond the grave, as I'm going to make sure that the trust is the owner, because the trust is not going to die. So I'm going to create income producing assets that's going to, again, continue without me and make sure it feeds them. Rather, they're underage. See, that entity is what's going to feed them. Now, it don't have to be the hands of somebody that you don't know as soon as you pass away. They turn it back on you and don't give your kids anything. That's why I said when they get of age, they're already going to be the successor. They're going to come up, they're going to know, and they're going to be in that position to control. Mm-hmm. Now, the life insurance is one of the fastest ways that your family can be a millionaire. Mm-hmm. Collectively, multi-million, right? Mm-hmm. So if I say 200,000, let's say $250,000. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to an average family, right?
Right.
So we can just get a policy. So let's go get policies. Let's get it on our children or ourselves, but put the trust as the owner, put the trust as the beneficiary, and put the trust as the payee.
Okay.
Because you want that payment to come out the trust account. We got money that's coming in that's going to overflow, right? So we're not going to worry about if a personal bank account get closed down because the person passed away and there's some levies, some audits and things like that. The trust is funding these things that's going to continuously live. And then we're passing, like I said, to generations. And my children have to learn this. So when they have children, they're going to say, nope, my mother put the trust as the owner. I'm going to follow at the plan that was put in place. Mm-hmm. We got another one. I don't know if we want to go into
Let's do it.
I don't know.
Let's do it. Talk to me about it. What is it? I'm all ears.
ILIT.
What is ILIT?
ILIT.
Okay, let's break it down.
They say I'm lit now. Drop some fire in the chat. ILIT is an irrevocable life insurance policy, right?
Okay. Go ahead. No, the floor is yours.
It's a life insurance trust. Okay. Like, so if you have a ILIT, irrevocable, where it cannot be revised, then this is protection for creditors coming after you, like medical. People get to a point where they go into nursing homes, rehabilitation centers. You name it, hospice. they're going to come after you for this debt. It's like $20,000 a month for a nursing bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, do people know this? Or is it because the insurance is like, oh, we're going to take care of it? And life insurance policy is going to protect your family to make sure they ensure that they receive it. No one can come in and change it. You know, life insurances get sued. Life insurance policy, like if somebody died in like debt and their loved one's like, nah, we can already sue that policy. We need that money. If you have a cash value life insurance policy, yeah, if you go through a divorce, they can take that as alimony. That's an asset.
No, we know. We have to unpack that. So it's called, okay.
ILIT.
ILIT, is that an acronym?
Yeah.
For, what does it say? So
Irrevocable life insurance trust.
How do we get that set up?
Call your life insurance company.
Okay.
And you need to tell them, you have to have, of course, an irrevocable trust in place.
Okay.
And tell them you want to change the policy. You want to change the owner of the policy. It's a phone call, but you have to have that document in place, of course.
So if we have life insurance already, we can go get this trust set up. Once we get the trust set up.
You need me to help you?
I mean, come on. It's a must. We gonna make it do what it do. We get the trust. We know grantor, beneficiary, estate. Cool. We got to get this life insurance set up. Instead of us going and get a cash value life insurance policy, we can do ILIT.
It can still be cash value.
Oh, it can still be cash. So cash value and ILIT are in the same. I thought it was totally separate.
No, it's a policy. It's a life insurance policy that is owned by the trust.
Got you.
That is irrevocable. That cannot be revised. So I don't want you to get it confused.
Got you. So we get this policy to where now, similar to what the trust does for us and our family and our estate and our assets, they can't touch the life insurance policy in the event.
It's irrevocable.
Interesting. This is okay. Let me set up. Okay. And this is for, because I know there are different life insurance policy providers. This is across the board.
Absolutely. You got to call and make sure, because now a lot has changed.
Okay.
There's so many enactments going on. There's so many Bill of Rights. There's so many different changes, even with business, right? They're like, hey, I see it's a lot going on. Like, oh, come 2024, things are changing. So I tell people all the time, we have to start learning new information because so much are changing. So if we know things are changing, we want to put something that's in place that won't change, that will hinder our family. So if you're saying that I created something today that will financially take care of my children, I don't want no creditor or no lawsuit or courts, for that matter, coming to change what has been in place for the benefit of my children. That's why this is important to know this.
So when we talk about children too, like you said, we're talking about protecting and caring from generation to generation. A popular account I know that a lot of parents use when they have younger kids to prepare them for college, I believe it's called the 529.
529 plan.
Yeah.
And most of the times, even with the custodial accounts and things like that, because the parents will put themselves as the owner of the account and it's for my children, right? You don't have to be the owner. The trust can be the owner of the 529 plan. Put the trust as the owner. Put the trust of, that's why I say own nothing. I don't even own my name. The Lela Lockwood LLC is trust owned.
Okay. I'm trying to, okay. All right. So
these plans in place, you can have an investment account. You don't have to be the owner. But what I like to do is create barriers. So you want to have a pass-through, a protection. So if you want to have an LLC in place, put an entity in place that's going to do the productivity.
Okay.
Because you don't want the trust to now start doing all the activity. A lot of people want to put the trust as the borrower. That will be a collateral exchange because you have private assets. So if the trust is coming forefront, all in the forefront, borrowing, doing business, you got to think what's behind them. So if the trust is doing all the productivity, you're now exposing potentially that your trust gets sued. And T. Rump he's going through
T. Rump. That's fine. Hilarious.
just start going through that because he's doing a lot of productivity with the business and the entity and the trust all together. You want the trust to hold the asset. That's going back to that holding company, right? Let the LLC do the productivity. Or you could just have a corporation. I know a lot of people say, when you say LLC, it could be sole proprietor, it could be, yes, but create a legal entity and let that be the productivity. So if you I have an LLC, I have a corporation that is the owner of my investment accounts. Maybe I set it up with E-Trade. Maybe I set it up with these different, and the business is trading. You see, businesses trade. Business have corporate stock and all this thing, all these things we don't know.
How did you turn yourself into a business? Yeah, no, we going there. If I let you leave here and I don't ask the right questions,
I know that's right.
Service.
You getting good. How did I turn myself into an LLC? Man, the trust was the foundation.
Okay.
I knew, let me just say this, coming from a place where I'm hiding behind a cubicle, hiding behind a phone, hiding behind a computer, right? Being a collection of, I'm saying my name is an alias, right? I knew that this was so important. I knew that I had an important task to do, but I still wanted to be protected. It's all about protection. It's all about creating something that outlives me. So Lela Lockwood was saying, I have nothing to hide. This is something that is created, that is structured properly, and that's for the benefit of my family. But on this journey, as I help other families, you now can look at it as this name will live on forever. It's a business. Like your Tommy Hilfiger, your Walmart, all these different companies, your Wells Fargo. These are family businesses' names. So I'm like, well, let me speak y'all language.
So when it came to that process of essentially turning Lela Lockwood into a business, is it the same exact approach of like going to just create an LLC to where you didn't know?
You just got to make sure that name is not taken. All right. So Lela Lockwood LLC can be created like any other business. If that name is taken, let's say if your name is taken, you can put your middle initial in there. You can be a little creative. Maybe put your whole middle name in there. You just want to, incorporate your name.
The biggest risk that most entrepreneurs take is trying to build a successful business without funding. But that risk is a reality for 1 out of every 3 entrepreneurs because their personal credit isn't where it needs to be in order for them to access that capital. Now, the truth is you can close the gap between where your business is versus where you want it to be by leveraging business credit. But if your personal credit report is poor, 99% of banks and lenders are going to deny you from doing so. And I should know, because a couple of years ago, I leveraged my personal credit report to get funding from Chase to start my company. And now that very same company, Takeoff Financial, is serving entrepreneurs just like you that are looking to restore their credit to get access to 5 to 6 figures in funding. So if you want to go from risk to reward, click the link above or below this video to schedule your free consultation so that we can restore your credit and put you in position to access capital to build the business of your dreams.
So then now moving forward, any affairs that you're doing, Lela Lockwood, the natural person, is not, you're simply, Lela Lockwood, the person is just a manager. But in terms of who's connected to it, it's either the trust,
correct,
or it's Lela Lockwood LLC, not Lela Lockwood, the natural person.
They asked to see the boss, so they sent me,
Come
dog.
on, no. Okay, got you. So then now let's talk a little bit more about that, especially when we talk about like business creation LLC, because like I said, I did my homework.
Yes.
I did my research.
Yes.
You talk a lot about, and I didn't even know about this, especially with me being in space. You talk about Form 8332. And
8832.
8832. There you go. There you go. I was testing you. I knew. I was making sure you did. Yeah, so 8832. Talk about why is that form so important when we're creating these businesses?
Entities. Yes. So when you create a business, the IRS, first of all, they give you the opportunity for you to tell them, because you're creating it, right? And when you're going through the setup of getting the EIN, it's going to tell you, it's going to say it's only going to be 3 ways that they're going to identify your entity. It's either going to be a partnership, it's either going to be a multi-member business, or it's going to be a disregarded as entity. So when it's disregarded as entity, if you don't select which way you want to be respected as how you're structuring it, then the IRS is going to say, oh, well, she didn't select anything, so we're just going to disregard it as a separate entity. So if you're disregarded as a separate entity, that means every business transaction that you're doing, that's why you're attached to your business personally. And when I realized, so you mean to tell me everybody skipped the screen? I'm reading. The screen says to be taxed as a separate entity. That's literally what it does. It just classifies you how your business will be taxed. It didn't say because you made over $50,000. It didn't say, that's not what it's saying. It's saying how. And if not, if you do not fill out the 8832 form, then at that point you fall under the default rule. And it's a default. It's a mistake. You're operating incorrect if you don't want to be taxed together.
Diving deeper into that.
Yeah.
You have, I laugh every time we say this, when we talk about separating ourselves as the natural person from a lot of these things that we're doing, these assets we're acquiring, entities that we're creating, things like that. You mentioned the social security, right? And kind of just separating ourselves from that. Talk a little bit about, from your experience being in this space, some of the biggest mistakes that a lot of natural individuals are making now when it comes to how they're handling their Social Security, when it comes to acquiring these assets and getting these different things set up?
You know, I play on a lot of words because I want people to get it. I meet people where they are. You know, some people have been very, very successful. Then personal guarantee and everything. They're 1 30-day away. If you're late 30 days, you're one late payment away. You know what I'm saying? And if there's something like a natural disaster, then you can literally take out your personal livelihood, which is your personal credit, and your business can go bankrupt. Just because you're not structured properly, just because you are walking into these financial institutions and you're voluntarily giving your soul Social Security.
There you go.
Yeah, you selling your soul. I just want you to know that, right? And it should do something to you. It should make you feel like, wait a minute. It feels wrong because this business was created to separate me. Why do you keep asking for my soul? Social Security, right? So now you go into this bank. But if you realize in business, you are separate from the business, but you should be a sole proprietor walking to the table. You yourself, your first and last name. You heard the term DBA, doing business as.
Correct.
Every time you do something with your business, this is not personal related, right? You're doing business as. The problem is you're doing business as the owner and you never separated yourself. You can do business as the operator. And here's the game changer. You now can contract yourself. You see how owners want to get paid too, right? But instead of me getting paid as the owner, I'm getting paid as an independent contractor. So now I'm going to get a separate EIN because now I am an employee to the entity. See, EIN is for employee identification number. So I need to be identified as an employee. I'm not the owner. So now I'm going to go and set up a EIN for banking purposes. And it's public record. This is perfectly legal to say, I'm not the owner. I'm just a manager. This is a contract. I'm not W-2. You know, I'm not doing this self-employed. No, I'm not self-employed. I'm separate from the entity. But this paperwork has to be in place to do so. This is not just waking up saying, I don't want to get my soul Social Security because she said no. This is doing the proper steps. So you got to be filed on the county level as you got to identify, because you got to register the business of how you're doing in the state and the county. Because on the federal level, they don't communicate with one another. These are two separate things. So on the state level, my first and last name is registered in public records, is doing business as my first and last name. See, I'm gonna play on words because I'm not going to say self because that's going to confuse the people. I'm going to do it as a sole entity, sole proprietor, individual. But any business, I might have 5. You know, a lot of people, they've been setting up LLCs left and right every day, right?
Very true.
IRS will allow you to get an EIN every day.
Right.
But if you creating these LLCs, you running around here getting money out the bank, you're not playing nobody. You're not leveraging nothing because you keep giving your soul with all these different businesses. So how is it that you operate in ethical? Let's talk about the proper structure and how you're protecting yourself. When you walking in the bank, giving them your identity, saying that I'm going to personally give. Hey, this has nothing to do with the banks is giving you the money. Baby, you're creating actually, and it's unfortunate, right? Because when you create something that is now, people have seen millions of dollars by creating their businesses, become creative. But if you're not structured right, it will go to probate. So you guaranteed it.
Right. See, now you got me feeling bad because I specialize in like credit, personal credit and the business credit. So the rule of thumb, especially when it comes to applying for like funding, is the best way to put yourself in position to get the max amount of funding is to personal guarantee, which is essentially to use your personal credit report to put yourself in position to get business funding. From a leverage standpoint, that is the quickest way to get access to funding. But then you're saying from a protection standpoint, you're putting yourself at a risk in doing so, right? And you can go the alternative route of using the EIN and everything else that we set up.
The words that you're using is triggering.
Okay, let's talk about it.
It's the quickest way.
Yeah.
It's the fastest way that they're going to give you. And how long are you going to do that? By putting yourself in the middle of a business transaction. Who's going to wear the bulletproof vest? If you keep putting yourself in the line of fire and you know that you're not guaranteed to be here, why would you personally put yourself in that position? Do you think Chipotle going out here giving their social security. Do you actually think Target is out here putting their social security on these documents? See, and also when you use your personal credit report to get business funding, when is your business going to get the credit? Because you personally took it out. So these are things that we have to understand because you never use your paydex score. Now you might have used it for structure properly, for the application process. But they gonna say, you give me your social security, we're just gonna approve you. They ain't checking to how long you've been established. They don't care. You don't care, they don't care. Because they know that they're gonna guarantee it. You guaranteed it. See, businesses can go into bankrupt. Business can, dissolve. But why would you go in business with them when they say, oh, we know we're going to get it from him. So, hey, the business can bankrupt, dissolve, whatever. We're going to take everything from him. So everything he going to go get from us, he going to bring us some assets, and we're going to take it.
I got to do some homework, ladies and gentlemen. You got me over here feeling bad.
Yeah, I'm tired of getting stuff taken from me.
I got to go back and do some homework. Okay. No, so from a protection standpoint, that definitely does make a lot of sense. So then now, I guess my question now becomes, you've been doing this for a solid amount of time. What is the biggest motivating factor for you now, right? Because there are a lot of individuals who have high level information like what we're talking about here when we're talking about getting trust and everything else established, but they keep it to themselves. You on Instagram Live every day. You on YouTube and all these other different platforms every day.
Drop some plants in the chat.
You understand? Giving away the information, what is the biggest motivating factor for you now? Is it the impact? Is it just from a self standpoint of like, I can't keep this to myself. I got to get this information to the people. Where does that come from?
Seeing my father pour into me.
Okay.
And he says it all the time. You got to leave empty. You got to fulfill your purpose. If you hold it on to something, that means you're insecure. You have this mindset, and maybe you might not say it publicly, but you have this mindset that, I don't want everybody to get this information. I don't want anybody to win with it. Somebody is winning with the same losing hand that you have. And if you walk around and say, I want to hold it all in for me, what does it do for you? It's going to drive you crazy because you make room for new ideas. You make room for new information. Now that you see that people take this information and go, people can think they steal from me. You can mock me, but I've already done my job. It's helped you start thinking on a different level. But when you don't become creatively you, authentically you, you're wasting your time. So when I give, that was already my vision, to give. Now there are people say, I want more where that came from. There are people say, I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to mess this up. I know that this is valuable, and that's all that it is. When people see the value, that's the joy that I get. And to know that I'm doing something to make my family proud. I think that what people have to realize that this position is not about me. And the more that I continuously to remind myself that this is not about me. I didn't do interviews. I did that as a favor for a friend. You just met me. So this is technically
your
my
first real interview
on
the Marvin Francois Show, ladies and
gentlemen. Yes, I never wanted the because I don't want people to don't miss the message. There are people that's not going to like what I say. They're not going to like how I say it. It's going to be triggering to people because guess what? They probably won't forget it. It's going to be a reminder to them that they need to get started. They're not going to like the messenger because people are going to try to say that you're not qualified. I'm not a licensed practice attorney. Well, I'm not practicing law. This is real information that people need to know for their families. And last time I checked, them attorneys ain't got no license.
There you go.
They got a bar exam. Okay.
There you go.
So I turned the TV off. I said no to friends going out, and I just got into a zone because the place that I was in when I got started was a place that was not my comfort zone. It was a place I didn't even want to be. And from there it was up. And the more that I give, the more that we expand. So why hold it all in?
Right.
It's not going to do anything for me. Me and my kids are good. And if anybody tries to take whatever they can take, and then you want to stop me, you want to muzzle me, they don't. A lot of people don't like. I'm telling you, I didn't know that this can upset a lot of people.
Right.
But I understand that we are the world changers. New information. The society is changing. If you're not innovating with the world, you're getting left behind, and they don't want to be reminded of that. because they felt like they put in the work, or they felt like they did it the right way, the American way. I went to college. I went to but you cannot pass down your degrees. So at some point, you have to get unprogrammed. You better get unfocused, because a lot of things where people say, I'm too zoned in. See, some people can focus on the negative. So sometimes you got to reshift your focus. And that's why I do it.
I think that's a great place as we, begin to close, just diving more into that. Reading your story, seeing where you are now is so powerful to me because, you're on a tour right now. Yeah. You're in a position where you're empowering, I don't say hundreds of thousands hyperbolically, like it's that and then some.
Yeah.
But, not too long ago, literally going back a couple years ago, you were in a much different place that wasn't too favorable, right?
I was in a shelter.
Yeah. Being homeless, if I understand correctly, divorced.
Yep.
Yeah, divorced. Still having, of course, be a mother for your children and all these other different things. To fast forward now, being in a position where you're at, as we close, if you could speak to someone who sees where you are now and maybe there today is what your yesterday was, right? They're in a bit of a tough spot and they're trying to figure out, okay, what's this next step? Where do I go from here? What do I do? What would those closing words be to that person?
You don't have time to focus on your situation. You have to get into a place where you're sick and tired. I never said that I just rock bottom hit me. I use this saying a lot. I say, how does it even go? You say, I got hit at rock bottom. Or rock bottom hit me. I'm like, I was living at rock bottom. It was every day. It was something else happening. And if life is going to life, right? Life is lifing. If that's going to happen for you and you're just focusing on the negative, you're going to stay there. It was the saying that this has been in my spirit for the last couple of days. If you stay complacent, it's nothing going to happen for you. Right? So if I just stay stagnant, I probably would still be there. I would be blaming other people. But when I started getting active, it's because I knew enough. I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't care what other people, how they say, oh, she coming out rough, raw. I'm so aggressive. Like, I'm passionate is what they say. I'm passionate. I'm not. Listen, you guys, I'm so nice. But I've been through a lot, and I said enough was enough for me.
Right.
So I had to get to a point where I had to be real with myself. Then I had to meet myself. Because guess what? If you dig deep inside, there's going to be something else in there that's going to say, you got this, you can do it. So you got to start talking to yourself. These things that I've done for me was not about me. And I know that there's other stories that's similar. But some people are like, I don't believe in myself. I don't know how. I don't know what. You got to find that. I can't tell somebody how to be successful. I don't even have the manual. I started creating my own money manual. So when people have a money goal, you'll get fizzled out. I have a people goal. I have a purpose goal. I have a goal for my children that will not run out. So when you have a goal that just not run out, you're going to figure it out. Everything is figure outable. Okay, that's a word.
And we're making it a word now here on the Robert Show.
And from there, it's like, keep growing. There's other people that's going to see you. There's going to be people that's going to dig in your background and try to tell you that you're not qualified. I qualified myself. So I don't know what anything that I said resonated with anybody watching. Just be you. Be different. Go where there's no path and leave a trail.
There you go.
For generations after generations after generations.
There you go. Lela Lockwood, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you, of course, to everybody that tuned into this episode. We appreciate y'all greatly. Where can the people find you? I know right now it's a little tricky, but we gonna hope by the time the episode is up, it's up and running.
Listen, LelaLockwood.com. So www.LelaLockwood.com.
Right.
You can find me on all platforms at Creditgenics, CREDIGENICS. That's the only page, you guys. And also, I'm gonna be in your city. I'm popping up. I'm outside.
Yeah.
You've heard it first here. I'm Lela Lockwood, your favorite trustee.
There you go. And I'm Marvin Francois, the host of the Marvin Francois Show, where y'all are tuning in. And we appreciate each and every single one of y'all. We know that you received tons of value. And if you haven't already, what are you doing? Take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now. Just go ahead and show this episode some love. If you're listening on audio, leave a review. If you're watching on visual, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap in for future episodes coming up. As always, you guys, I'm Marvin Francois, the very lovely Miss Lela Lockwood. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. And as always, thank y'all. And God bless.
Stay rooted.
Peace.